Tua gets placed on the IR, which is a minimum of 4 weeks out. If you do recall, the IR used to be you're out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then the IR became eligible for return whenever COVID was happening, and then they've kind of just kept it around as a 4-week at least type situation, even though they can designate some people, I think, to be full season IR as well. So the Miami Dolphins make this decision for Tua, they're saying, to give him ample amount of time to make the decision on whether or not he would like to return to play, seemingly, is why this decision was made. Let's go to Miami Dolphins diehard fan,
of course,
Darius J. Butler, on his thoughts about the Miami Dolphins doing this for Tua's health, is what they're saying.
It's good, I think.
Okay.
Hey, I like it. Because it kind of takes some of the pressure off of him, because obviously he's going to be – and I don't think when you're IR you have to talk to the media and have those press conferences even as a quarterback. So now he has time to really sit with his family, with the medical professionals, start to really feel better, have a clear mind. And it's tough. Obviously, whenever you see a guy get a concussion and lock up like that on the field, it's scary. We've seen it happen multiple times with Tua. I think he'll be back, obviously, this year, but now you take that pressure off of him up until at least mid-season. We'll see where the Dolphins' season is at that point. We'll see what Snoop does, how long they stick with Skyler. If they make a trade, I was watching some shows this morning. Stafford may be traded for in Miami. I've seen all type of scenarios being thrown. Yeah, some crazy shit being said.
Could you
on
imagine
TV
Dolphins with
this
Matthew
morning?
Stafford?
Yeah, it
man.
would be great, but it ain't happening.
A lot of money
it
in
ain't
the
happening.
QB room.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, certainly. But Matthew Stafford maybe reworks that thing to win a Super Bowl with another team.
Wow.
down
Could
there
you
in Miami.
imagine?
Could you imagine the Stafford family down there in Miami?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that would be an entire Super
LA to Miami. But yeah, man, I hope obviously Tua makes the right decision. He gets back, whatever that right decision is for him. And hopefully we see him, as a Dolphin, we see him on the football field.
I hope the Dolphins, I'm happy that the Dolphins do this for Tua. I do believe this puts even more of a spotlight on Tua and pressure on him. Like, even the team that he plays for is like, you sure about that? Like, if you want to, like, you got obviously the outside world saying, are you sure about that? Now, seemingly, you got the Dolphins being like, want to make sure you're sure about that with the entirety. Does that add into the entire situation for Tua? We shall see. If the doctors say he's good, if the doctor's like, you're cleared to play football, and Tua wants to play football, I am very intrigued to see how this all goes. Especially with McDaniel being like seemingly one of the most caring. He kissed him on the forehead and said, hey, you're the quarterback of your family. Now the team is doing this. It's like, how do they respond to, I'm very eager to see how this all plans out. If he chooses not to play again, which a lot of people are saying should happen and think will happen, I think we'll all be like, all right, Tua, we get it. We absolutely get it. We understand it. But if he comes back in place, I'll be, what is the whole, And if doctors are clearing his brain, and then he wants to play, what's the whole reaction? I do not. Even from the Dolphins, I'll be excited to see.
For sure. But, if doctors clear him to play and he wants to play, then, this conversation's over.
Completely. You would think it is, but is it?
No, people are still going to be pissed about it, but I feel like the people right now that are saying retire are like, hey, the doctors aren't going to clear you. And it's like, well, if the doctors clear him, then he's playing. And then if he wants to play, even, the speculation of well, this might happen again. Well, it's like you might get hit by a car when you cross the street, but you're still going to cross the street. The guy is going to play football no matter what.
Feels like he's going to want to play football.
It feels like he's a football player. He's going to want to play football. He just signed a massive contract. He's got a great team. Coach loves his coach, loves everybody, in the organization. It's like this dude's playing football again. It's just kind of a matter of time now. And now at least there is some sort of hey, okay, 4 weeks down the road, let's see where we're at.
I think that'd be the biggest thing. Because, if he gets cleared, he is playing, period. That's the way this is going to go, and you can say whatever you want. But I think in terms of, the pressure on, him and the team as a whole, if he doesn't get cleared after 4 weeks and it takes him, 8 weeks or whatever the case may be, and then he gets cleared then, it's just going to amplify hey, this guy needs to retire.
It took him 8 weeks to get cleared. Is now
concussion.
the right time?
Exactly. That's when that stuff.
9.
Man.
That's when that stuff will really amplify. But if he gets cleared, I don't think anyone thinks there's any way that he's going to play if he gets cleared.
I feel like a terrible person for not knowing this information immediately off the top of my head, but Austin Collie, good friend of mine. Austin Collie, similar situations here. Prime time, a lot of eyes, knocked out numerous times. Locked up, scary situation. Not only for, obviously, fans of the game, but, teammates It was uncomfortable. I assume his family, everything, because of some of the hits he took. And I think he ended up retiring because of it. And then there was like an entire situation. And like the amount of information that they have now on brain activity, I think does not equate to the amount of like medicine there is. Like I think there's like a lot of trial stuff to keep your brain good. Like trial this, trial that. And like I think Pat Anger even is potentially on some trial stuff, potentially for brains, for potential concussions that he didn't even know that he had whenever he learned what a concussion was. And he was like, that's a concussion?
Oh, I've had 50 of those.
I've had maybe 100 of those. It's like those things are happening, I think, to older football players. So I appreciate the fact that they're trying to make it safer and trying to make people's futures better and everything like that. But I think it's going to be very difficult to tell people that are adults something that they've committed their entire lives to. If a doctor tells them, hey, your brain's good. And he was very with it. You know, all the concussions we've seen with Tua, you know, he's seemingly happy, joyful, all the things we learned from the Dr. Will Smith movie. It's like miserable, depressed, not really quick anymore. Now, granted, that might be long-term effects, very long time. But in the moment here, you know, like Tua is I assume it's going to be tough to get him to think that, like, because he's had a few concussions, he shouldn't play the sport that he loves, the sport that's paying him a lot of money. He could potentially make hundreds of millions of more dollars playing this sport. He could do it, like, I don't know. I think it's going to be it's a very interesting dynamic happening.
Well, and he also fell in love with football again. Like, think about how his career started to get to where he is now. It's in the league.
That's a Dolphins fan, diehard. Gumpy, who I think is staring down a potential reality. We don't think it's likely, but a potential reality that Tua is not going to be able to be the quarterback for McDaniel's offense that has seemingly become a match made in heaven down there. Skylar Thompson going, but there's a lot of other chatter. Gump, how do you feel about the next 4 weeks for the Miami Dolphins?
We can still pound the rock, so we got a shot, but other than that, I mean...
You guys are a power football team.
Oh, yeah. They can run the rock. A lot of good running backs.
Run the ball. That's about all we've been doing.
Matthew Stafford goes to the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, my God.
That would be so sick.
Where'd you pull it? You saw it?
Well, I saw it in the facility this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think it was in the
facility were you
training
in?
room.
So that might have
the
legs
training
then.
room.
Well, you have legs in the training room and facility for sure.
In the Dolphins facility or the Rams facility?
No, the facility, right?
Facility.
Come on, Nick.
Congrats to those boys over there.
Shout out.
4 NFL guys running the show.
Which player in the facility was it?
Quarterback.
Yeah,
Chase Daniel.
He
Chase
dialed it
Daniels.
up. Nice mock
Scoot
trade.
City.
Yep.
I think same draft class, I think.
Lives out there.
The
perfect
mix
mix
I think they played together at the Lions.
Who?
Chase Daniel and Matthew Stafford.
He's the one that said Matthew. Wait, we should start piecing some things together here. I did not know this. So Chase Daniel said, "Why not Matthew Stafford?" Or he's hearing Matthew Stafford.
No, he wasn't. I think it was him proposing the trade. So I don't think it was him piecing together. I don't think it was some insider information. I know a lot of news about insiders today.
You just brought up Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. Coach Canales actually spoke about the decision, and we'll let you kind of decide whether or not you think it was a Tepper decision or if it was GM head coach decision.
Yeah, it's a lot of those factors. And again, I hate to sound like a broken record. I owe it to all of the guys, the coaches, the staff, the players, everybody involved to be really critical about what we put on film, about what I'm seeing, and to make sure that I'm constantly making the best decision for the team every week. And it happens to be the quarterback position. And so it's loaded that way, but it's every position, and it's all the guys. And I was able to stand in front of the team and challenge all the guys that we all have to step up our passion for what we're doing to play with the play style that we're looking for.
A lot of I'm in there, right? When he's talking about the culture that he was trying to set on the team. He said there's a standard, and obviously the quarterback's going to be talked about more because what comes with that position, but I need to be able to stand in front of the team and say, hey, you got to be able to produce or you're not going to have a job. Him saying to the team, like, we're going to move on to Andy Dalton because the production from our number 1 overall pick just over a year ago is not to the standard that we were trying to find here, and that is for every position. Some people want to be a Panther, some people won't be Panthers. That's just how the future looks here. I think that's very empowering probably for a coach to be able to make that move, especially to a number 1 overall pick and to a new general manager being able to make that move from the ownership of David Tepper. So congrats to Tepper taking his hand seemingly off the wheel. But with that being said, they definitely came into that building and said, we have no loyalty to anything that happened in this building before we got here. That is why you were hiring us. How do you feel about the move, AQ Shipley?
Yeah, I think you nailed it right there. They are not tied at the hip one bit to Bryce Young. And so they were going to test it out for a couple weeks, and clearly it has looked bad. I'm sure there's more pieces to that puzzle, but he has looked bad, and they are not going to ride their coattails with him. They're going to go with Andy Dalton. Now, all that does right there with what he just said is put more pressure on everybody else on that offense. Obviously, Andy can go out and just kind of free wing it, but now the eyes are on the offensive line. Now the eyes are on everybody else too, which, it can be really interesting moving forward.
You talked about it too, the panic, that comes in. Hey, you don't want to start 0-3. And the 0-2, it was ugly. It's one thing to be 0-2, but it's another thing to be 0-2 and not even be competitive. Even on that team in Indy those years ago, like, you guys were competitive. I feel like in a lot of those games, it came down to like fourth quarter. It wasn't like you were, 4-5 touchdown losses. Had hope in a lot of those games. So when you're coming in and you don't have hope, you got to keep that locker room, especially if you're a new head coach. You can't just be saying a song and dance and trotting out the same guy. And it always starts with the quarterback. Once again, that was a good roster. Lost the quarterback for the season, didn't have a chance. You got a guy on the roster, Andy Dalton, who we know can play good NFL football. Not sure about that with Bryce Young. Haven't seen it. So I like the move, and I like the ownership that it seems like Canales is taking with it.